People are more likely to seek out support when the problem is acute, when it's just started to happen, or they're actively been trying to find solutions and they haven't yet reached the point of like despair, like nothing's working. And how long it takes to reach the point of is varies depending on the person and their fortitude and resilience. But it becomes chronic when they have adapted their life to that situation. So if it's a person who has trouble sleeping, they at first researched all the remedies and they tried a bunch of different things. But in the end, they have found a way to catnap throughout the day so that they are not a huge grouch. So they've adapted. Yeah. It's not ideal, but it's no longer the level of urgency that it once was when they were trying to solve for it. And if you come to them with a fandangled, here's a shiny new way to solve for it, they're a little like tired of, sorry for the pun, they're a little tired of trying. It's like, it's actually more painful to keep trying remedies that don't work than accept what life has given them. And what if your solution works on the first try? Well, now their ego has to suffer through the realization that they've been living in this state that they don't like when the solution was there all the time. So it's just a really difficult place for a person to move from. And they're not immovable. It's not, they can't not be reached. It's just that if you're just starting out and you're just beginning to make an offer to somebody who is ready, looking, eager, rather than those that are really like reluctant to try. Let the people who've got more experience reach the people who are experiencing the more chronic issue, because they'll have the tools and resources and stories to help make that happen. It's sort of like the job seeker who is actively searching for a job while having a job versus the person who's been unemployed for 3 years and feels like they're no longer employable. Like, different coaches would have different resources for those two audiences. And if you're just starting out, I don't think you want to be the one who's trying to help the person who's been unemployed for 3 years and feels like they just can't get a job. That's like a difference between chronic and the level of urgency being like, I want to fix this right now.
Yeah, that's very sound advice, especially for people who are at the very beginning, because it's so easy when you start as a coach, you want to help anyone and everyone. And that's a different conversation, you know, taking it to the niche territory, which you cover beautifully in your book. But it's because you think of yourself as being part of the helping professions, it becomes really hard to decide, actually, I'm not going to go and try and help that person. It's not worth it for me. It almost feels like it's not right because you're saying it's not worth it, but you don't want to profit on the back of this, right? You don't do this for the money, which again, it's a different discussion. But I think that's very sound advice to think about what would be easy for me in the beginning of my journey.
In the beginning of your journey. You know what I would say? The other part of being part of a business is building up a really strong referral network. I had a client who spent 18 years being an executive and career coach. She had a full docket, worked nonstop, all hourly coaching clients. And when we started working together, she wanted to launch a podcast, but couldn't find the time. And really, the podcast wasn't it. She actually wanted a book and wanted to create some sort of group coaching program. But at the first, she didn't feel like she could name all of those desires. So the way she had to move forward was to get clarity about who her ideal clients were of all the types of people she'd work with, because she said yes to every referral. And the way she figured this out was she thought about her network and she realized that other people she knew were better suited for some of the people that she'd been working with that were not bringing her the most joy. And the exercise I had her do was make a list of all of your clients, rank your, 1 through 3, how much you enjoy working with them, and then put in their dollar amounts annually that you expect to earn in the next year, and then sort it so that the dollar amounts range from top to bottom. Well, look at the ones towards the bottom and check out whether you enjoy working with them. If the answer is not really, those are the clients you need to fire, and you need to direct them to others in your network. And from that point forward, don't say yes to anyone else who fits that description, but give them the right referral. And same ways, like make it really known with your network the kind of referrals you would love to do and you're really qualified to do. And sometimes, like I have a friend who's loves working with the most difficult coaching clients in a company. Like that's his thing. Like he's kind of competitive about it, and he's like, no, give me the ones that are like the most uncoachable. But that's great for him to know that, but he then shouldn't waste his time on the really easy ones either, right? Because he's going
Yeah.
to fill up his day. And so it's not that you avoid the difficult, it's that you find what is yours and you give the rest out to your network, and vice versa. You attract in the ones you really want. If you don't do that, you're not actually serving your higher purpose, and
Yeah.
you're not providing the best quality care to the people who are seeking help. If there's someone else who could do a better job or just even be more joyful in doing it, that actually would be better for everyone if we all just sort of said yes to those kinds of opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. And you make a great point there about let your network know who is it that you want to work with and
Mm-hmm.
what kind of referrals do you want to receive from them. But in order to do that, you need to know yourself, right? What is it that you do? What's your offer? Who are you serving? And how are you helping them? That's really important in the beginning. A lot of people are nervous about niching down because they think they'll miss out on opportunities or more clients or whatever. You're a multi hyphenate. So you have multiple passions, but you still
Yeah.
talk about the importance of finding a niche and sticking to that, at least in the beginning, so that people get to know you for something before you can expand your offering.
So I am a multi-passion entrepreneur, and I have distinct areas of my business, but each one has an ideal client.
Yeah.
And so if you're asking me my coaching, I coach entrepreneurial women in their 50s and beyond who are looking to grow their impact and income through a new revenue stream of some kind that's probably like a new one-to-many group coaching program or a mastermind or a course. And they just feel like they don't have time to waste, and they're not sure where to start. And while they're an expert in a lot of things, they have a ton of experience, this is making them feel like a novice again because they're just a little out of their comfort zone. And it's been a while since they've been out of their comfort zone. So
Yeah.
those are my people. And I've actually had an interesting sort of pushback because I'm so clear. People then say, well, what about people who are less than 50? What about people who aren't women? And I'm like, well, I could market to this specific audience. That's the language I'm going to use. That's who I'm going to reach out to and ask questions to when I'm creating something. If it attracts someone else, I'm not going to immediately say no if I think it would fit. So
Yeah.
I have this year-long coaching program, and my friend Christopher is in it. And he does not identify as an entrepreneur or woman in his 50s, like, so, but then, so there's a demographic and there's a psychographic. As a psychographic, he actually does fit because he is looking to build new revenue streams and he wants to get started right now, and he's very coachable and he's very willing, and so there's sort of a way which you start with this demographic description, and then you start to layer in the psychographics of where are people in life, where are they in their career, what are their deepest needs and desires. But it's really hard to figure that out without first identifying the demographic, and then you can be a little looser about the who. But as far as referability, being really well known as the go-to expert for your topic within a specific industry would lead to far more referrals than to be the general expert on this topic for all industries. Because
Yeah.
then I will never think, oh, banking, I've got to call so and so, right? Like that would be the better way to be known and to lead initially. And then you might expand from banking to finance, from finance to HR. You can slowly morph out over time, but initially being a generalist can actually cause confusion in your marketplace. Like, how do I refer you? You help everyone. And I discovered
Yeah.
that with networking. That was my first passion, was to teach networking, and I had a really hard time trying to find the right audience. Ultimately, this is so funny, I still teach networking. I now teach business development,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
but it's still networking. It's still
Yeah.
reaching out to people and having
Yeah.
calls and having conversations. And it's just that it's focused around business development, which has a really clear outcome that's measurable, and people will pay for that outcome. So
Yeah.
you've got to sort of take your gift and figure out what is the audience that wants that gift that you would be happy to serve.
And that would be willing and able to pay for it, right?
Yes. Well, it's really interesting because I was having a conversation about, like, there are people who want to work with students. And I said, yeah, but it's the parents then that you have to convince. Or maybe it's the
Yeah.
school, the institution. Like maybe
Yeah.
it's the alumni network. Like you could reach an audience that themselves are not able to pay, but then you have to think like, well, who is in whose best interest besides that person's is it to help them be successful?